The hip-hop writer is a creator, composing understanding words of culture brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation, simply the almighty leadership of insightful craft work that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duties as a journalist that questions properly and uses his ears to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it to print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian, he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt, executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show at S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living God, stepping in score, Sunya's Allah, a.k.a. Skillustrator Low. And we're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, every timeless insight will be archived. And as I said, this is my element of hip-hop, the writer, what I like to call the writer of art on art and science on music, you know, and doing this all these years, you know what I mean? I find it comical, you know what I mean? The way it works, you know, like we have all these great options out there, you know what I mean? Options out there, and this is an option. And you know, I see all that stuff where like now after all these years, now Vlad is being canceled. There's a little cancel culture on Vlad and stuff. Oh man, we've been here. How long we been here? We've been here. You don't need that. You don't need Vlad. I've been doing this a long time. You know what I mean? Bringing you builds, bringing you everything that you need. I got my book out, The Filtered Real, Essays from the Invisible Renaissance. DM me on my IG at Sunez, S-U-N-E-Z. Email me, Sunez97 at gmail.com for your autographed copy. And it's you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it because one of the things about journalism in this decade is that they've really sold out full circle, and nothing that they report about, if it happens to be quality journalism, it's luck of the draw. It's really based on the trending, you know, the trending aspect. So it's not really based on anything else. It's not based on the quality, you know, of the work. It's not based on who's doing the work. It's not based on the consistency of the quality, because that's also an important thing too. When you look at rap, hip hop journalism in this last decade, you know, this whole thing I've been calling the Invisible Renaissance especially, you've seen a crossover that's very clever. You've seen a crossover where the ideas and the presentation, you know, the presentation of works by sites will be based on embracing all levels of quality, lack of quality, pop, underground, everything like that, and then basically niche marking it. So every type of musical taste will be included, even if they wildly contradict each other to the point of hypocrisy. It's about covering everything. So on one level, the standards of an artist will be that they're a hypocrite because they're underground and they decided to do this type of experimentation. But then a more pop artist will be lauded and revered and everything for going that pop direction. And that kind of hypocrisy by the media makes it very difficult to have a standard of how you decide music. So then you have reviews that don't really talk about the quality of the music, because then you don't have a standard. You know, you don't have a standard to how it goes. What you do have is, when you have all of this happening, right? What you get actually is new levels of judgment. So you get relevancy. You know, this is a thing that, like, the phrases that get used, you know, to actually define the way artists and music is going to be defined. And a lot of times, though, what makes it something so important when I talk about judging things based on, this hashtag I use, science on music, it isn't to make it such a technical science that we lose the joy of judging things like soul and the aura of a music and the feel of a music. Even though those things, I think a music journalist, a music writer, a music historian should be able to define it in some way to how that aura has manifested itself. What actually happened, and how can we describe this aura? We may not be able to differentiate it. We may not have to. We may not be able to categorize it, but we may not have to. But the thing is, though, is that what you get instead is basically new levels of judgment. And, the relevancy meter is really what I think about first when I look at things like Vlad, because it's really based on who he will interview that will actually get him the most likes. So it's a manipulation of one of the cores of good writing, good journalism is, we're interviewing this guy because everyone wants to know the story, right? And that's something that I don't really bear witness to, because the story is something that actually hypocratizes. We're going to go through this on, I'm going to go through this in real detail on other episodes. Peace. Well, we got a special guest now. We got Elo Kush in the digital building out here in S.STREET Media. Peace, Elo.
Peace, God. How you, God?
Everything's peace, man. I was riffing here, waiting for you to chime in and call. And I was talking about stuff that has nothing to do with you. I was talking about sellouts and sellout journalism.
Yes, sir. I'm a journalist. I wrote a book as well too. So journalism does affect me as it is.
That's right. You know what I mean? And what I was talking about. I'll let you give your thoughts on it, since it's part of this show. One of the particular things I always talk about, because people talk about, I was noticing that DJ Vlad was being canceled, and I was like, well, finally. But one of the things I was noting was the way this music of ours, the way this culture of ours is covered now. It often has to do with a false barometer, and often one of those false barometers that is really high on their judgment is relevancy, and that's a total made up word. You know what I mean? I was in these rooms when they were making up what is relevant. You know what I mean? And it takes away from the barometers of what's quality and stuff. It allows people to dismiss an underground artist if he experiments creatively, or if he gives you great product consistently, because he's not relevant. It also lets a pop artist continue to sell out, though, if everybody buys it, because now it's still relevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's always. Can you, first of all, you can hear me clear? Am I good?
Oh, indeed, definitely, loud and clear.
Okay. I think in the sense of, as soon as you stop dealing with Islam, I self-know the master, then you describe yourself to some real stuff. You're not anyone else to control your actual art, if you're not understanding that it is you that controls your actual art, especially in this day and time. I could say maybe in the 90s when we was coming up, in the 80s, we're not really knowing how to get your music to people, or relinquishing control, thinking that you have to go to the plantation to be accepted. Like, oh, I got to be on Def Jam, or I got to be on Interscope, or I got to be on Koch in order for somebody to respect my stuff. But in truth is like these days right now, that's the very last thing you want to do. You don't ever want to be associated with these labels right now. You are the label. You know what I'm saying, God?
Indeed. And with that said, I want to rewind for the listeners and stuff, and give you that proper introduction. And it's gonna be, I have Elo Kush here, my special guest. Though this isn't the first time I get to build with him. I got to build with Elo Kush along with John Robinson together on DJ Toshi's Classic Stone Radio, one of the great episodes we had last year. So go look for that if you want to check it out and have a complete experience of us building. But one of the things, why Elo Kush is so important to the music right now. I'll tell you why, and I'll let Elo expound on it in his own way. But as a writer of this music, as someone covering this music, as someone that is really writing, you know, what I call art on art, meaning that I'm inspired by the art that others give. Elo Kush is something. Elo Kush's work is something where he gives you an authenticity that everyone is shooting for, but doesn't dare to reach for. Right? So he gives you that all of the pseudo-ness that we see today. Everything where people try to be woke, they try to be revolutionary, they try to be a man of the people, they try to be revolutionary, they try to be a progressive thinker, they try to have deeper ideas, they try to have songwriting ability with no real ideas. Elo Kush is the MC that's actually fulfilling these things sincerely and to the listener. You know, someone that is challenging the listener to say, listen, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm going to have to go look that up. And then also saying things in a way that relates, though. Like, listen, this is the ideal, you know? Like, a lot of times, and I'm saying this as someone that we grow up with hip-hop, a lot of times the brothers that we were listening to, we looked at them, we knew that they weren't all right and exact in every single way, right? But in many ways, we looked at them as, like, they represent ideals that we can shoot for, you know what I mean? Like, as a kid, for me, people like KRS-One, definitely Guru, you know what I mean? Remembered Imperfection, Guru. As a kid, those who, you know, I was looking up to, you know, so whatever flaws that they had so many ideals and massive amounts of creativity and excellence in fulfilling, you know, those ideals that they were presenting to us, though, that it was something to look toward to. So it was, you know, it's almost like, definitely in my respect, one step away from the mystery God, because now we're seeing that real people can be real and elevate themselves. You know what I mean? It's not a mystery. You know what I mean? And to me, that's what Elo Kush means to hip hop right now. And I know it's a lot, Elo. I know I threw in a lot there, but the work is out there. There's no denying the impact of the work that you have. If once someone, you know, gets on there and starts to really listen and dig into the works that you have, you know.
Yes, God. Appreciate that, God.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you. Those are high accolades. And you mentioned the greats of Guru and the other great. You know, I was listening knowledge of what you were saying, and Guru is one of my favorite MCs. Just to even be mentioned in that class as a person from, you know, skipping detention, running home to watch Video Music Box, so I can see, you know, with my brothers, whether it be with my brother Qua or be with my brother Jada Gift, we skip in school to make sure we get home to see Daz Effects video. We skip in school, excuse me, to make sure that we hear and see X to the next video by Gangstar. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? So even be mentioned now to be in the art form and the same, you know, that's why I take it serious to that degree, because, you know, it's not only showing and proving who I am, but it's also honoring the ancestors that came before me in this art form. You know what I'm saying? And like, I think that if you don't treat it, I think if you don't treat it with the same type of seriousness and the drive to create and leave a legacy, I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You know, it's just in my perspective from what I see, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely see that. You know, what's interesting is that a lot of people also, too, when they judge music and when they talk about music, because, you know, this music's been, you know, we could say we can, you know, we can actually in many ways rejoice, though, because if you really technically look at it, in especially black music in North America, because we might be able to go into other Latin American country and see the success of artists that are, you know, of a good quality, you know what I mean, have really long-lasting careers. But the cutthroat nature of the music industry, especially here in the U.S., it's often denied that, you know what I mean? And this hip-hop has a lot of careers, you know what I'm saying? There's not many other genres that you could find, like, I'm talking about black music. I'm not talking about like you know, white rockers or anything like that. I'm talking about our music. You're not gonna find too many. You don't find groups with longevity like Wu or you know, artists like, let's say we were talking about KRS-One, who still can release an album whenever he wants to. You know what I mean?
and pack the building,
absolutely,
and
yeah.
destroy anybody. And you better pray that you don't have to go behind him. He has to be the headline. Because if you're trying to go behind the blast master and perform, you're out of your damn mind.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And since we were talking about Jersey, I haven't even heard it yet, but I just got a new EP. It's a couple of songs though. Wise Intelligent did an album with Snow Goons, a short
Snow
album.
Goons, yeah.
Yeah,
He
so
sent me some tracks, man. He sent me some tracks, beloved.
oh, that's dope.
That
That's dope.
that joint is crazy, man. Teacher Wise is so important to my career as well. I just want to interject before
Sure,
we start
please,
doing a
please.
couple questions. Teacher Wise is so influential to me personally and as an artist. I mean, there's 5 MCs who molded me, who have heavy influence on me, and that's Teacher Wise, that's Tragedy Gaddafi,
Peace to the God.
that's Chuck D. You know what I'm saying? That's Brother J, and I would say KRS-One. Definitely, those 5 had heavy influence on the perspective as an MC as I am today. And Wise being, because when you think about New York, right? In Jersey, we close, but we still miles away in a different mind state, and then how our culture is here versus New York. One of the things that makes Teacher Wise and Poor Righteous Teacher is relatable because they write from Trenton. We from New Brunswick. That's like here and there, like skating rings. Trenton is the spot, and to be, in my career to along with my group, the group I'm with, Angels Inc. Along to be able to one day pop up and see him, and then trade verses in the cipher, and then do a song with him, and then being able just to call him or he call me, and just I'm talking to Teacher Watt, like it's like mind blowing for me. You know what I'm saying? Because he's giving me insight how to miss certain potholes in this industry. You know what I mean?
That's real peace, man. That's real peace. And speaking of those hurdling those things, yeah, salute to you on the recent merch sales success. You know what I mean? I saw you on Instagram and
thank you, brother.
you put
Thank
that
you, brother.
Yeah, that's dope. That's definitely dope. You know what I mean? And
thank you, brother.
yeah, and that's the great thing about hip hop too. There's so many avenues for the talented to make money. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it definitely adds on. And to the listener now, you realize that Elo Kush is from Jersey. He's representing Jersey. You may not be able to tell if you've never listened to his music. We were talking about Guru. Definitely, the voice is a powerful thing that propels Elo Kush music. It's got like a smooth rasp to it. You know what I mean? It never crunches, but it's always like a slight rasp to it, though. It's a very unique voice. You know what I mean? Very unique voice.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of people don't have it. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have it like that, so they can't do that. But I want to go through some of the important people that you've built part of your catalog with. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I guess
let's go, brother.
I just had speaking of DJ Toshi's Classic Storm Radio, we just had about almost a month back. We built with the God Supreme Cerebral, and
Big Pro, my brother.
Indeed, yeah, indeed, and you guys did that great album Clark Connoisseurs, which is really built around one of the fashion obsessions that you brothers have, wearing the Clarks and everything like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And,
yeah, man.
And the thing is, I wanted to throw this out there. When I was building with him, and we talked about you briefly, and covering his works, because this is important work in both of your catalogs. You know what I mean? If somebody wanted to see, hey, is Elo Kush and Supreme, are they good? You could give him this shot deal and throw it to him. You know what I mean? And
yeah, man.
It was one thing that he said, that one of the great things about working with you is that you really, really push him. You know what I mean? You challenge him. And
yes, sir.
And that's crazy because he's already intensely competitive. You know what I mean? His competitive nature is one of the first things that came across once he started talking about his music. It was about hey, it's all love with everybody, but I'm trying to destroy them. So how is it working
Absolutely.
with a guy that intense, and then you're the one that's pushing him and stuff like that, And these songs, they're not just battle bars, where you're just trying to out-battle. They're real song themes, you know what I mean? They're songs about stuff.
I like to So to answer your question, I like to always start from the root, right? So Preem and I met Preem on tour with my brother John Robinson, who was in California, he was doing one of the shows. And the first time I met Preem, I met him on stage. He was on stage, and he got in this event, and he really just stood out. You know, he was performing with Aguilar, or Adolf, excuse me, Aguilar. And they was, I know Adolf from the West Coast, I mean from the East Coast, you know, right. From Brooklyn and Jersey. So we, you know what I'm saying, we not, I'm just listening. You know when groups get on before you get on, and I was just checking out the West Coast vibe, shooting pool, and I mean he got on with such lyrical intensity. I thought he was a Brooklyn dude. And to come to find out, he is a Brooklyn dude. He sounds like a Brooklyn dude.
Yeah.
You know?
On the low, I do steal him and put him in my Brooklyn, pack,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and then, just I think the best thing about our musical relationship is that we built a personal chemistry relationship together. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. He's a strong soldier, too. Supreme's a big dude, you know what I'm saying? And me and him, we built just about life, first of all. We was talking about life, and then we was talking about, he was like, oh, the Clarks is crazy. I think I had on mismatched wallows on when I met him.
Oh, yeah, you got the bar about that. Yeah, the mismatch of wallies. Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked, and it made so much sense, to fast forward it. We talked, and just build a relationship. He sent me a song, I did something. Sent him a song, he jumped on something, and we were just talking about the same stuff. But what's uniquely great about our relationship is that we like the odd couple in a sense, but we still A-likes on everything. Like, Preem is an aggressive dude, he's a Taurus, you know what I'm saying? Like, bang out. I'm a Scorpio, you know what I'm saying? And we, whatever with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, but we have the same mentality. And our styles are so cohesive as we do music together, because his style's totally different than my style, but it fits. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's a good dude, man. So Clark Connoisseurs is definitely a good introduction to seeing how Preem and myself fit together. It didn't go back, because I got a lot of songs on his albums. You know what I'm saying? And we're right now working on Clark Connoisseurs 2 as we speak right now.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm looking forward to that. You know what's interesting? What I want to throw out there to you and the listeners is that when you say you guys are different, though, is that on the mic and the music that you guys make, I said this to Supreme. I said, there's very few MCs that give us that joy of being offensive. You know what I mean? It doesn't have. It's not like a pandered shock value like a lot of rappers. You know what I mean? But he's just generally shocking. Everything is so out there, and he says such wild combinations of ideas.
Yeah,
and then it would seem like you're on the total opposite of the spectrum, and yet even though you come across more smooth on the tracks, you're being as challenging and as confrontational as he is, all on different levels.
Absolutely.
It's a real great balance of intensity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that accolade, because I do. Now that you said it, I do, because I'm thinking about. When you're a writer, you write so many songs, you forget sometimes. When I think about certain joints, well, I'm just speaking from a perspective from New Brunswick. That that's how our mind is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like in Jersey, that's just how our area is. It's like, I don't care if it's 40 people outside. We still going outside. It's 2 of us. You know what I'm saying? We're going to push through, regardless to whom or what. But that's not being tough. That's just the mindset of having no fear in your heart. You know what I'm saying, God?
Indeed.
And that's just what it is.
Word. And,
Shout the Preem.
Word. And another important brother that's part of your catalog, the God John Robinson. We definitely got to talk about him. And before we even go into that, salute to John Robinson and that new That Magic LP that he just released with
him and Tiff Page. Shout out to Tiff Page.
Yeah,
that's a dope.
Really dope, man.
That's real dope.
Yeah, it's so hard to merge, soul music with hip hop, and it doesn't sound really corny. It has like that vibe, you know what I mean? Like, it's dope. It's just a great vibe, though. Not a vibe that's very rarely captured nowadays. You know what I mean?
That's because people are scared to push the envelope. My
Yeah,
whole clan, we push the envelope. You know, music, it cannot just be boxed in.
yeah,
A thought
absolutely.
is exactly that. You know what I'm saying, God? Like,
Mm.
so you have to manifest that and then share it with the world, hanging on the wall and keep moving. You know, artistry.
Hmm. And last year you made one of the best albums of the year with John Robinson, the Ebony Ronin. And
Thank you, brother.
throughout your catalogs, you guys appear on each other's songs, on each other's albums, throughout each other's catalog, and all over the years. And that just made that was just a logical, unification there in that LP. And we obviously talked a lot about it, but tell me about the things, in more detail about the things, because a lot of people don't know that everybody tells me when they build with John Robinson, you make a song with John Robinson, you're also learning about life, and you learn not just us, the listener that heard the verse, but also the actual artist is also, getting ideas of how to deal with this industry, how to be sustaining, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
he started to make business with this, you know what I mean, with actually teaching about this, and
Absolutely.
just an incredible figure, incredible figure in this music, you know.
The accolades I got from my brother. So we call him Psy, little Psy. You know, he started off as a little
That's
science, a
right.
little
That's right.
scientist. And from we go back to him being in God Body Science, and his brother Invisible Hands, ID Four Winds, and Rasun. You know, rest in peace to Rasun, Inspector Willoughby.
Mm,
We
indeed.
lost our brother last year, man. You know, so much love to him, man. You know, may his name live on forever. But me and Cy, or John Robinson, as y'all call him, Cy's a unselfish brother. He's a selfless brother in all aspects of the square that he stands on. You know, we go back to the way we met him. We met them battling. You know, that's how we met. We was actually battling first in a US One flea market bathroom, and we were such we were such A-likes on that level. You know, and these are dudes that they from the Bronx. You know, they come from the Bronx. They come from all over. He's a well-traveled person. Him and his brother, Four Winds. And for us to be A-likes after that day, after that battle, we haven't separated. I'm talking about 30 plus years in friendship and brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? Um, it gives so the importance of us collaborating on each other's projects is a no-brainer because it's like we're always around each other in some form or fashion. Our families know each other. You know what I'm saying? Our mates know each other. You know what I'm saying? It's not nothing that's forced. Again, I
Mm,
refuse to do anything that's forced. Everything has to be naturally. It has to be organic. No GMO in any type of relationship I have in this industry or in life. And that brother, he gives so much. Like taught me a lot about business. Teaches me a lot about taught me a lot about self sufficiency in the business. What it is that you're looking for. How to capture your sound. And I think the natural progression of our friendship to comrades to brothers is like, yo, we have this album we got to do. So I got these beats. You should be speaking on these, and we got busy. And Ebony Ronin was a dope project because it wasn't microwave, man. That was a project that we recorded some in California on tour, some in Rhode Island, some in Jersey, parts of it in Japan. You know what I'm saying? So it was a great project, man. And that brother, salute to that brother. Can't say enough about Sai. Sai's a good brother.
indeed. Indeed. Peace of the God. There's in this hour, there's so many things I want to get into as far as general themes and all that, but I want to get specific before I get general again. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I'm what you got.
So for everybody, you guys want to take a break. The website is elokush.com. The music is on Bandcamp. If you go to Angels Inc. So that's Angels with a Z at the end, inc.bandcamp, and you'll see a whole bunch of great works to indulge in, to buy, and so definitely open up them browsers and put that in there. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
The most recent work. Before we go back, let's go right to the present moment. Um, the present work is Fly Emperor 2, produced by Buddha
Yes.
Monk, you know what I mean? And
Yes, sir.
Buddha Monk is a Japanese producer, right?
Yes, sir.
And you worked with him, in the recent album, the Fly Emperor, the first one, just marked Fly Emperor in 2018, and it gave you a little
Hmm.
background. There's a background about a track. There's a track in there about how you got, with him and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
so I don't want you to give any of that. I want people to go get it and hear that for themselves. You know what I mean? But what's
Yeah,
interesting
man.
to me is I'm
Appreciate
always
that.
interested with a producer is that, like, yes, you get hooked up and the beats are good and everything like that. But I have to ask you on a separate level because I don't consider you as somebody that's just throwing rhymes on, a good beat. You're there constructing songs based on themes and stuff. So what is it about Buddha Monk that you say, listen, I can work with this guy and we can construct these themes, we can arrange songs together, we could do all this? Like, what was it that made you
Hmm.
say you could do a whole project with him?
Um, Chemistry again. I think chemistry. Initially, you talking about flying for two or just overall
Oh,
initially?
overall, the Fly Emperor 1, 2, yeah.
Okay. So in Fly Emperor initially, shout out to my man DiBiase, DiBiase, Crazy Beatsmith, from Cali, Sacktown, represent. Um, on tour in California. I think this is my third tour we did out there, doing some shows with my man Lil Si, John Robinson. We was talking, and just the relationship that we sparked real quick out there. Him having to go back to Japan,
Hmm.
and it started off emailing to each other, and then finally, we completed Fly Emperor. It was just he understood. There wasn't. I mean, there's a small language barrier, but nothing big.
Hmm.
And I think that his love and understanding for hip hop and his appreciation, like he listened to, it blew my mind because he went back and listened to some of my previous work and said some stuff and asked me questions about what did I mean like this right here. Like he didn't understand it all the way, but
Hmm.
he had an understanding. So that let me know he was really listening and tuning into the work. Um, so fast forward, we go to the tour over there. Really solidify our relationship is the hospitality he showed to us when we was in Japan. I
Hmm.
mean, the knowledge that the cultural knowledge where he understands how we eat through the music, knowing that we don't eat pork and we don't eat meat, and you should go here for this, and you know, go over here to meditate over here at this temple. Took us to, I mean, it was such a phenomenal experience that our brotherhood solidified right there. You don't have to always be born from the same mother to become a brother, man. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
And
Hmm. I see that.
I've gained a lot of respect for him because he introduced us to his family. You gotta understand, like, in Japan, family and culture is very much important. So when a person introduces you to their family and treated, I mean, he rolled out the carpet for us, man. I had a great tour over there with that brother. So that's what made it, made me want to work with him and continuously work with Buddha Monk right there. Just
That's real
chemistry and
peace, though,
culture.
because when people listen to Fly Upper, 1 and they listen to 2, it's such a short amount of time, though, half hour, and then this one is like, a little bit shorter. Fly Emperor
Hmm.
2. There's so many ideas thrown in there, you know what I mean? And to get
Yeah.
them all out, though, in a cohesive way. One thing, and this is why I'm saying all this stuff, because there's no preachiness, there's no didactic nature in your music, like, oh, there's Elo talking that shit again, or nothing like that, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Always comes
Hmm.
across hardcore, always comes across militant, you know what I mean?
Yes,
And
sir.
it's real warrior music, you know what I mean? That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for,
Yes, sir.
you know? And
Appreciate that.
the Fly Emperor 2 just recently came out, though. That lead single was, the Ichiban Elo, banger. Um, how long in the transition, though, was this a new foray with him? Like, did you say, listen, these are just what was left over, or like, yo, we're going to do this all over again? Let's work again. Let's do this all over again. How did it work out with this?
Well, Fly Emperor 2 was we started recording it. Let me just say Fly Emperor 2 is probably a special EP to me because It was recorded in 2 different continents in 4 different cities, though. You know what I'm saying? Um, we recorded the song Ichiban Ilo and Land Bridges in Shijuku and in Osaka. We recorded those 2 songs.
Hmm.
Uh, Ichiban Ilo was created because of, we got there and we were rehearsing for the shows later on that night, whatever we're doing. He pulled out his computer and started playing beats. I mean, over there, they're advanced. Their technology is so advanced, man. He had this thing he was playing on. I don't know the name of it, but it was just beats pumping out of it. It was crazy. So Ichiban Ino was the first song I recorded in Japan, in Shinjuku. We recorded it, and that's why the song is, the hook is Ichiban Ilo live from, because I was really in that moment, and I really captivated the energy of being over there. And Land Bridges, I was on tour with, JR, Lil Star, John Robinson. He was with me on tour out there.
Mm.
It's and the song Land Bridges is so dope because we had there's a brother out there who was Buddha Monk's right-hand man. His name's Suki. And Suki out there is an ill Japanese MC. Well, just an MC that happens to be from Japan, but he only raps in Japanese, which is crazy. I mean, you can feel it, what he's saying.
Yeah, his flow was tight, though. I didn't know what it meant, though. I'm going to have to take it to Toshi.
Yeah. Yo, he went in. He was going, I mean, his approach to the track, was so vicious. Like, oh, I'm on here with some brothers that can get busy. And he went in, I don't know everything that he said, or even 95% of things he said, but I felt it 100%, though. You know what I mean? So.
Indeed. That was that song really, and that, just to pause right there to talk more about that song, Land Bridges. First of all, the chorus is real clever on that. You know what I mean? And there was a line that you had that and I'll talk about this later though, because there's a couple of jazz references that you make that I always want to talk about, because there are very few. We see this with producers, but you don't always see the love for particular musics shown out there by MCs and stuff. They'll love certain musics, other genres, but you don't always hear about it. And it reminded me a lot like when I build with Sky Zoo, who loves jazz, and actually knows his jazz. You know what I mean? And somebody that mentions jazz, and you had a really interesting line there. I just wanted to throw that out there so you could talk about it while we talk about Land Bridges. You said musically inclined but tortured like the soul of Chet Baker. And Chet Baker, probably my favorite white man in jazz.
Absolutely.
Incredible trumpet player. And I always thought when I bought his singing albums, like, wow, it's totally not in the palette that we're used to, the way you sing. You know what I mean? But the more you hear him, the more you get into the way he sings. Like, especially like My Funny Valentine. Like, it's
great record.
When I first heard it years ago, I was like, this sounds horrible. But then after a while, it started to get to me the way he did it different. You know what I mean? But
that was dope.
Yeah, and that's the point, right? That's the point of a jazz singer, right? He's supposed to improvise. But what was interesting when you said that line is that, like, I was like, wait, he can't be tortured exactly like Chet, because Chet was, a drug addict and he dealt with all the shit. What did you mean by that? You know what I mean? And obviously, I could assume things like, you're a black man in this country and dealing with the oppression we're dealing with. But I wanted to hear you say, like, how you saw that line when you kicked it.
Musically inclined but tortured like the soul of Chet Baker. Violin in any form, you'd be a shell taker from a shell sender. 08901 slinger. So what I meant in that is that I'm like Chet in the science of that I'm self-taught in music, right?
Okay.
And I'm possessed and I'm addicted to making music at all costs. I don't have a choice in doing this. Whether I sell 1 record or I sell 3 billion, I have to do music. And it's like it's almost unfair to my to my steeds and to my mate and to my brothers and to my mother and everything, because music comes before everything, like Chet did. Now his torture was addiction. He was addicted to like I'm addicted to performing like he is. I'm tortured because we're A-likes on the level, because the amount of beautiful women you can attract at different times. How
Indeed,
Chet
indeed.
did, Chet. So, and it's effortless. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I have that same curse with me. But also, what my torture comes from having to consistently create. I have to create, and I have to perform it at a certain period in time in Chet's in his life. And I hope I never go through this, but I'm sort of feeling it right now a little bit because of the pandemic. But at one period of time, he couldn't perform. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
he couldn't do any performing because he was he was locked up overseas, and that he said that was his worst hell. He couldn't
Mm.
perform. They took his cabaret card from him. You remember you had to have
Yeah,
a certain card to perform jazz. You know what I mean?
let me ask you, because the creative process for the artist is like, we immediately look as a listener, as that LP we get, that song that we get, and
Mm-hmm.
most would say, like, listen, Elo, you still get to create. You know what I mean? What is missing
Mm-hmm.
from that artist reality? When you don't get to perform, when you don't get to perform in front of people, because we say, you still have the opportunity to create, right? You still have the opportunity to make songs, all of those things. So,
Yep.
what's the difference here? Now that this pandemic has definitely made you see the two sides, right? What's missing?
Mm-hmm.
What is really missing when you don't get to really perform then?
Um, like the like it's like a fist fight to me almost. I guess I can say it like that. That feeling you get. You're not scared. You're not scared, but you're ready. You know what I'm saying? Like those that sharpness, that alertness, that adrenaline rush that's within you.
Mm.
Um, the interaction with people, because it's inhumane not to interact. That's why when they put you go inside the box, they put you in solitary confinement to break you.
Mm.
You have no That's what jail is about. It's about taking you away from the things and the people that you love.
Mm.
It's not about rehabilitation. But in saying that, in answering your question, it's like I missed the part knowing that I have a show that night. What type of clocks I'm gonna put on? Gathering my brothers. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, oh yo, where we going to the Bronx? Okay, we need this. Okay, we going over
Right.
here. We
Right.
might need that. You know what I'm saying? But just the point before they introduce you and giving thanks that people are taking time out of their life to stand there and they really hear, especially on the East Coast, especially in New York and Jersey shows, man. People are there to look at you and they'll screw face you. They won't be moving or doing anything, but they listening. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Indeed. Yeah.
So, so is my point. That's what I miss. I miss that challenge of because to me it's easy if you have a hit song and everybody knows your song and you love that song, you're gonna be jumping up and down automatically. But the challenge and the balance in this situation as being an independent artist is that you don't know my song, and my challenge is to make sure before I leave off a stage that you know this song in some form or fashion. Like,
Very,
yo,
very
yeah, that
true.
first
Very
that
true.
first that first joint you did, oh, that was dope, yo. What's the name of that? Well, I can get that. You know what I'm saying? Or
Indeed.
when they
Indeed.
purchase merch, or when they purchase your merch, is song number 3 on there that that third song you perform? Is this on this album? Nah, it's on that album. Okay, let me get this one and that one. That's what I miss about it, the interaction.
I hear that. I appreciate that answer. You know what I mean? And you got me thinking about that time that you and John Robinson, Little Si, you were at Rock the House and out in Delancey when pre-pandemic. And
Mm.
it was exactly that. I knew the songs. I definitely was one in the crowd that knew the songs, but as a writer, and I'm always covering, though, I'm not really looking at my experience, though. I'm taking a look at how people respond. I want to look at, how people move and everything like that. And
Yeah,
after the second song already, people already moving up, people already getting hype, you know what I mean? People already feeling
yeah,
that flow that you two have, you know what I mean? And really just hearing something different. The music
yes,
sounds
sir.
different than everybody else, you know what I mean?
All praises due.
Yeah, definitely. Um, One thing though, in this whole thing, and I want to interject some of the general themes that I've always had. and talking with you, I had in the intro, I talked about Elo Kush being this brother that sincerely. All right, if I had to cliche it though to the people out there, all you listeners, right? Everybody's trying to be woke, and then this is somebody that really is the peak of what you think woke is. You know what I mean? The holy grail of woke. This is what Elo Kush music is, though. It's real life. It's regular people. It's a regular brother that actually just is embracing all of the challenges and what happens when he embraces all of the revolutionary modes. In other words, he's going to change the way he eats. He's going to change the way he talks to his brothers. He's going to change the way he deals with sisters. What would happen if all of these little things we talk woke about actually were done? What would it sound like on a record? You know what I mean? And you know what's interesting is, like, you know, we were talking about like the knowledge of self and stuff, and you know, the listeners know I'm a 5%er. I'm part of the Nation of Gods and Nerds, right? If you come on Thursday to the law school of Mecca, I'm the one that's gonna teach you. You know, literally.
That's teaching in class.
You know what I'm
saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And one of the things that makes the idea of woke, and this is before this word even came about, you know, even before millennials and whatever bastardization they might have with it, but even during the 90s and on, though, one of the confusions that always happened was people embracing all types of black power information, knowledge, tossed or heartfelt spiritualities, whether it was one way or the other, and just merging it all to a hodgepodge. You know what I mean? And that's the question I want to ask you, because when I build with you, I know that you know that the original man is God. So to me, knowing that and living that, I'm like, yo, peace to the God. You know what I mean? Just like when I built with you in John Robinson. And even though if you're not like in our nation, quoting lessons, you know, saying this, that, and even if we probably went through things and I probably might disagree with you about certain things about York and other shit like that, right?
Right.
You're one, though, that we can definitely look at as someone that has really been able to find a usefulness, though, in a lot of different spiritualities, though, you know? And for those young out there that are hearing all these things new and stuff like that, and they're becoming radicalized, you know? And it's almost like in these days and times, right? A lot of people that didn't think they would be radicalized are kind of thrown into the reality of radicalization. You know what I mean?
Right.
How would you suggest that they deal with all of these ideas, and how do they, navigate through all this without losing their own sanity or just being really a caricature, which is what we get a lot. You know what I mean?
I think that's a good question. I think that my perspective to that is like it works in our benefit in the science of, because, you know, especially with social media and these different things, you know, things are trendy, right? Everything's trendy. Everything is, you know, like you said, the terminology of the word conscious or woke is like, it almost makes me sick, because like it's like a trendy word, you know, because that's, I mean, you've always been who you are. You know, you don't need a slogan to define you. You define yourself through what? Showing and proving your actions. But it's trendy, and it's a good trend, because eventually when you strive to be quote unquote woke or conscious or alert or smart, whatever it is, the truth, once you really open your eyes to the truth, you can't change it. There's nothing you can do about that. So even if your intentions was to start off, you know, halfway in a sense, you still wind up actually going down that rabbit hole and really opening your eyes. And then you open that other eye that you can't close once you opened it. I give thanks. I give thanks for the older God, you know, Justice, who taught me. He's from Jersey. You know what I'm saying? And I give thanks for my father, who was a revolutionary. He was in the Black Gorilla family. And they stuck banks up with Matul Shakur and the Weather Underground. You know what I'm saying? I give thanks learning about if I learned about, you know, my family, I have certain family members who are Black Panthers, but I also learned immediately about the Young Lords faster than I learned about the Black Panthers, because the Young Lords are right in the Bronx, and they did things on this side, whereas, you know, the Black Panthers were on the West Coast. well, the first initial start of that. I tell people, so I'll just say this to people, you know, my path isn't necessarily your path. You know, I learned, we was taught, you know, my brothers and I, we was taught to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave by the older guard. So we're going to be in different thought schools a lot.
Right, right.
But, you know, but what you will hear from me in going through those different thought schools is that you'll hear my time standing on square in that thought school.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll hear me building about where my title Elo Kush comes from. You'll hear that from the New York thought school. But you'll also hear me giving thanks to Allah B, you know what I'm saying? And Kindu Allah.
Indeed.
And the older God justice down here.
Right,
so
right.
you'll hear all these different terminologies, but it's not confusion, it's just showing that look, I'm a well traveled man, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not not ever gonna
right. And that's why I appreciate your work so much though, because your work though is going to be part of someone else's journey. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's articulated in a way where every facet and everything that you've gotten, when I listen to your lyrics though, I can hear details of how it impacted you, each aspect. So it's not just like, you know, let me throw in this because I heard this and it sounds dope. You know what I mean? Everything seems like a working cog in the reality of Elo Kush, you know? And that's why I wanted to throw that question out there, and I really appreciate that. The other thing is this, is that,
for action.
yeah, and throughout your catalog, there are real answers and thoughts out there about what you think revolution ought to be. And one of, you know, and obviously, you know, we talked about, you know, I saluted you on the merch and everything and the work that you're doing. You're also an author. You've published your own books that you've written. The interesting thing is your ideas also too. You have very deliberate ideas about black economics though, and it's told in such a way where, like, if our people put out something that's quality, then we ought to actually just go support it. You put it in such a simplicity that that no one can really deny that. You know what I mean? A lot of people aren't looking at things like that, you know?
Yeah, brother. I mean, we have, you know, one of the things I think that was great about the 90s that I take from that situation, you know, we talk about being self-savior. You know, we also talk about a FUBU mind state right now. My mind state is definitively FUBU all the way around. You know what I'm saying? Like, for us, by us. So when we didn't see a clothing line like my brother Jolly Gift, you know what I'm saying, one of the comrades, generals of Angels Inc., my brother, he created, you know, his own clothing line for us called 99 Attributes. And you can check that, 99attributes.com. That's attributes with a Z. You know, creating our own, you know, creating a flag, creating a certain platform, let me say that, for things that's not there. And I choose to do that with music, and I choose to do that in my experiences, because as an artist, all I can give you is my experiences. You know, and I'm not even. And sometimes, like this album was an experience over like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not even in there, but I revisit the experience when I listen to it, and I do an interview, and we have great journalism like yourself, who you know, ask questions that make you actually, you know, regurgitate substance from that particular experience. You know what I'm saying? So
indeed.
I also, as you give accolades to me, God, I give the same to you, God, because, you know, I know you're writing exactly everything that you're doing, Lord.
That's peace. That's peace. You know, one of the things that, and this is really my own personal thing, we talk about revolution a lot of times, and there's, I could, you know, this is another time, but probably build with you sometime, you know, off air when I see you. And one of the things that people don't take into the idea of revolution, though, is probably from the biggest industry that attacks us, though, and that's the food industry, you know? And I always like hearing your bars about vegan stuff, you know what I mean? I've been teaching the Living Foods diet since I got Knowledge of Self, and I've been vegan since '96. So it's refreshing to hear somebody put it in a militant context, and how it actually affects you revolutionarily, in a revolutionary way, you know what I mean? And no, it's just dope. I just had to give the kudos there. All you meat eating listeners, I'm sorry, you know, I had to do it. But
nah, we gotta do it, because that right there is and I'm not going to take too long, but that right there is a science that we should teach, and we all heard it. As
Absolutely.
above, so below, God.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
Word,
saying?
word. And you know, like for the listeners that don't, not all, you know, many of you don't know what I teach. It's not just being a vegan. It's knowing the science anyway, just so you could use it. Because even if you knew the science, you could detox yourself when things get real. You know what I mean? So it's not
Yeah,
about changing your diet if you can't do it. It's about knowing the science behind the best foods and how to utilize them. You know, and it's always been layered in your verses so ill. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
and then also another, you know, and all of that. But one last thing, because we're talking about the music that you're always mentioning, and you always have these great jazz selections on your IG page. Um, you had a bar. I forgot what song it was though, where you were like Art Blakey versus Max Roach, and man, I've been thinking about that for a long time, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
said,
and I was
what the
like,
hell did I say?
yeah, I
I'm
forgot the
not
whole
that
bar,
because
but then you was like, it's like, it was almost like a simile bar where you were like talking like,
oh, I remember that's from Cream album. That's from see that's from a song I did with Supreme. I said I said who's better, Max Roach or Art Blakey? At times I get upset because I forgot to write down the fly rhyme that escapes me. We're awkward, dress code jazzy, a rebel Anunnaki. Yeah, yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah.
Yo, I was saying this though. This is my throw right now. This is, it might change though, but I was saying, I say Max Roach the better drummer. Art
Yes.
Blakey, I like his albums more. He had
Mhm.
incredible bands. He had too many players on his bands. Like, you know, he just too much though. You know, he had,
Art, art is the OG. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
his
art is the
albums are just
OG.
too ill. You know, like
But like you're saying with the arrangements and you gotta remember, man, these jazz musicians are the modern day hip hop. We're the modern day jazz musicians. Excuse me.
that's right.
They were the
That's right.
first. Them and the blues musicians because my education through blues and hip hop allows me to be free in hip hop. I mean, excuse me, blues and jazz allows me to be free in hip hop rather. Think about it. You got my name is my moniker is Elo Kush, but then you had people in blues like Leadbelly and Muddy Waters and
Word.
Howlin' Wolf, and then you know, and then the sophistication of how the jazz musicians were presented. They was always sharp, and if they did 3 shows that night, they would always fly, man. Like I mean, from head to toe, and they had a certain mystique about them. I learned all that from the jazz, but amongst all that stuff, you still have to have the substance in the music. You still have to be able to get busy, and they hone their craft. And the professionalism of it is to make you think that it's so easy, but they spend hours and hours to mastering this.
Indeed,
And I do
indeed.
the same science. I may spend 3 days on one line.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it doesn't.
Absolutely.
I needed to say it a certain way. When you talk about
Indeed.
jazz, man, I
Indeed.
get all
Yeah, we're
loopy
gonna
and
have to
groovy
save that
because I
for.
love it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to save that for another show. I'd love to have a show with you and Sky Zoo just building on jazz. But
Peace to Scott Zoo and
indeed.
condolences to I know he lost some members
Well,
of his family
yeah,
recently.
yeah,
Condolences to
indeed,
the
indeed.
guy.
Condolences. Well, Elo, it was an honor to have you for this whole hour. For the listeners, go to elokush.com, spell his name. Go to his IG, Elo Kush as well. Go to Angels Inc. That's Angels ZINC .bandcamp. Get all the music. Get his merch. That's new merch out now. Just one of the stellar MCs of this era. You know what I mean? And saying things that we could learn and live by. And I salute you, God. You know what I mean?
Yo, God,
It's a
I
great honor.
salute you, God. And I'm striving. I haven't really been moving back and forth to New York really, but I'm striving to get up there on the Thursday and get a good build with you.
Oh, that's peace.
Get in
That's
there in the
peace.
class.
Well, it's
You know
great
what I'm
having
saying?
you. It's great having you on, Almighty. You know what I mean?
Thank you,
Really
God. I
appreciate you.
appreciate you.
All right?
Appreciate the platform, Lord.
Indeed. Peace, peace. And that
Peace.
ends our show for tonight. Until next time, man, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. I'm your host, Sunya Zala, a.k.a. S.STREET Low. Peace to Elo Kush. And as always, the Power Right Show is a never Respect Fake Broadcast. Peace.